Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review, Everton 0, Liverpool 0 at Goodison Park on Saturday afternoon. The Merseyside derby ends in a draw, meaning Everton have now drawn their last 4 Premier League games, of course, still without a win. However, very much a feel-good factor coming away from this game of football. Unlike many derbies in the past, Everton didn't sit back, Everton didn't fear Liverpool, Everton didn't sit and defend for 90 plus minutes. Both teams had their chances, both teams could have quite comfortably won the game on another day. The game could have ended 3-3, 4-4, maybe even 5-5 on another day as well. It was a really well contested Merseyside derby and probably one of the most entertaining 0-0s you will see in a long time. And I'm sure there were many neutral fans, obviously with the game being a 12:30 kick-off on a Saturday. I'm sure there were many neutral fans who were watching that game of football and were pleased by what they were seeing. I, obviously being a massive Evertonian, and I'm sure many other people that are in the live comments being massive Evertonians, weren't particularly watching with such a happy smile on our faces, because if anybody is like me, I absolutely hate Merseyside derbies. I hate Merseyside derbies with a passion, and although I can sit back after the game and reflect on it, you know, with a bit more of a calm, cool head and say, yes, it was well contested, yes, it was entertaining, yes, it was end-to-end. During the game of football, I couldn't do anything other than sit on the edge of my seat, shaking my legs, absolutely, with nerves that I've never experienced before in my life. I remember sitting there at Goodison Park, and it felt like I'd been in the ground, and it felt like the game had been on for about 45, 50 minutes, an hour or so. And I remember looking up at the clock, and it read 12 minutes, and I just turned around to my dad and said, how the fucking hell has this only been 12 minutes? It feels like we've been here for about 3 days. But that is what Merseyside derbies are, and that's what Merseyside derbies have been all my life. You know, well-contested games, certainly the ones at Goodison Park. And more often than not, games that you are sat on the edge of your seat for, and this was very much another one of those games. And one thing that I think really clicked in my mind on Saturday, and it's the title of this live stream, and we'll talk a little bit more about it as the stream goes on, but one thing that really come into my mind on Saturday watching this performance was not only how proud I was of those Everton players and how proud I was of the way in which we played, the way in which we stood up to Liverpool, the fact that, as I said, we didn't sit back, we got at them, we had our own opportunities to win the game. On another day we may have won the game if we'd have had I was going to say a decent referee then, but a decent referee doesn't exist. But also that I felt like it was the first time I'd watched Everton in a number of years where we had an identity about us, where you actually watched them and felt this is Everton Football Club. The fight, the desire, the hard work, the battle. Okay, still lacking a little bit of clinicalness going forward and a little bit of, you know, maybe quality going forward, but there was always that fight, there was always that desire, defending as we should do, strong, big, physical, battling in midfield for the ball, getting forward and being tenacious, creating opportunities. That's Everton Football Club, and that's very much what it felt like on Saturday. It felt like we had an identity back, and Everton's identity crisis has been one that has been ongoing for a number of years, and one that we spoke about a number of times on this channel. In fact, I don't think Everton have really had an identity since David Moyes left the football club in 2013, and I'm not saying that we're back where we were then now, because obviously Frank Lampard has still got a long way to go, but there is very much a feel-good factor around Frank Lampard and around Everton Football Club at the moment from an Evertonian's point of view, and it does feel like that we're getting that identity back of what Everton is and what it means to play for Everton, to manage Everton, to support Everton. Everybody involved in the football club feels like everybody's getting it, you know, getting back to what it means to be involved at this football club, whatever level you're involved at, and it very much felt like that on Saturday afternoon. And although Everton is still without a win in the Premier League, although Everton is still searching for that win and we're 6 games into the season, it very much doesn't feel like there's much negativity. It doesn't feel like there's much, pessimism. It doesn't feel like there's much worry. Okay, there's a little bit of nervousness. There's a little bit of anxiety, because I think a lot of us are still sort of thinking about where we were towards the end of last season and the fact that we haven't managed to pick up a win yet. But I think that nervousness and anxiety is sort of drowned out when you watch games of football like Saturday, and you just sort of remind yourself that these players are trying an awful lot harder now than what they were at times last season, and also looking an awful lot better, looking more resilient, looking more organised, looking more collective, looking like there's more energy, like there's more passion, like there's more determination. And I very much do feel like, and I said this before the derby, and we were obviously hoping the derby would be this game, but it wasn't to be. But I very much feel like we are just waiting for this to click, and at some point it will click, and the results will come in, the wins will come in, and Everton will be in a safe position. And it's okay, from the outside looking in, to say, well, you haven't won a game of football this season, so how can you possibly be positive? But you compare, there's two teams in the Premier League that haven't won a game of football this season, Everton and Leicester, and you compare the two sets of fans and the sort of outlooks and views on the club from the two sets of fans. It's very, very, very different. And whilst it all seems to be falling apart at Leicester, and as I said, the majority of Leicester fans seem to be wanting a change, it's very different at Everton. It all seems to be coming together. And, that is ultimately a reflection of where we've been in recent years and how far we've dropped in recent years. But it's also a reflection on the job Frank Lampard's currently doing and how things seem to be progressing. Now, obviously, football is a results business, and you're ultimately judged by the games of football that you win. And if Everton is sitting here in December and we still haven't won a game of football, then these conversations, become quite mute, because ultimately we're sitting here saying we need to win games of football. But I don't think we'll be in that position. You look at the games that we've played this season, we've had 2 defeats, one of which was a shocking defeat that should never have occurred, one of which was unlucky, and the other games we've drawn were hard fought draws. Okay, we should have beat Nottingham Forest at home, I understand that, but Leeds and Brentford away are difficult games of football, and games of football that last season, we may have lost. I know we drew at Ellen Road last season, but we certainly didn't draw at Brentford. So, again, the results aren't there in terms of the wins, but we're not losing games. And as I said, there seems to be something building. And, you're hearing it from the players yourselves, Connor Cody, Iwobi, Onana, various different players coming out and saying, stick with us because we are building something here and those results will come. And, it very, very much did feel like that on Saturday afternoon. As I said, a very, very, very even Merseyside derby, which to me tells me 2 things, one of which being that Everton have significantly improved from last season, because if you remember the derby at Goodison last season, it certainly wasn't even in the slightest. Okay, we had a period of about 10 or 15 minutes where we caused them a little bit of an issue, but for the rest of the game, Liverpool absolutely wiped the floor with us at Goodison last season. So it tells me that Everton have significantly improved in terms of the organisation, in terms of the commitment, the desire. I remember leaving Goodison last season after the Merseyside derby and turning around to everybody that was around me and saying, these players just don't care, they just don't want it, they're not interested, they don't want it as much as those Liverpool players. Whereas I left Goodison Park on Saturday thinking these players do want it, they wanted it more than those Liverpool players. We just were a little bit unlucky, and okay, we have to be thankful to our goalkeeper as well, but we were unlucky with our opportunity. So things are certainly changing for the better at this football club. But also what was quite evident is Liverpool obviously aren't anywhere near the team that they were last season for whatever reason. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't really care about whatever reason that is, whether it be losing Sadio Mane, whether it be Klopp's 7th season curse, which he seems to have in his 7th year in any football club he's been at. It's irrelevant, and it doesn't really matter. What matters is how much improved Everton seem to be from where we were when we played this fixture last season, and that is definitely a positive that we can take, and a positive that we can take going forward. Obviously, Frank Lampard started the game with a 4 at the back, which I think was to everybody's delight. There was a big question mark around whether or not Frank would revert back to a 5 at the back because of the size of the fixture, because of the scale of the fixture, because of the team that we were playing and the quality of the team that we were playing. But he didn't. He remained with a 4 at the back. Jordan started in goal, of course, as you would expect. Obviously, Vitaly Mikalenko at left back, Nathan Patterson at right back, and James Tarkowski and Connor Cody keeping their place at centre half. Do us a favour, Hernandez, in the comments, get rid of this T-Rock's absolute idiot. We had obviously a midfield of Amadou Onana, Tom Davies and Alex Iwobi, again as expected, although I think a lot of Blues maybe would have wanted to have seen Idrissa Gana Gueye making his second debut as an Everton player. It was probably unlikely to happen considering A, how long he'd been at the football club, and B, the fact that he hadn't played a game of football for a number of months, so his match fitness wouldn't have been up there. I had absolutely no issue with Tom Davies being in the starting 11. I thought he'd done a really, really good job last time out, and if I'm being honest, I thought he'd done a really, really good job on Saturday as well. And then the front three, of course, of Neal Maupay making his Premier League debut, Demarai Gray and Anthony Gordon, which again I felt was the right front three. I felt like it was the right decision, taking Dwight McNeil out. Okay, little bit of a question mark around Demarai Gray's defensive ability and whether or not he'd be able to get back and help out as much as Dwight McNeil would. But I feel like for what we needed Demarai for in terms of going forward, creating chances and putting pressure on this Liverpool team, he was always the better option than Dwight McNeil. So I think we were going into the ground quite positive, to be honest with you. Obviously, there was the coach greeting outside the ground around about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, and that really did sort of set the day off. Very similar to the ones of last season. Maybe not as intense as the ones of last season, because obviously of the position that we're in now is very much different to where we were, when we played Crystal Palace or when we played Brentford, at Goodison towards the end of the season, because obviously there's not that desperation of relegation looming over our heads, but still extremely loud, still extremely, volatile for Liverpool, players coming into the ground, and obviously, extremely, I think, passionate for those Everton players. And, you can only imagine what that felt like to be Amadou Onana or Idrissa Gana Gueye or, Neal Maupay or Conor Cody or even James Tarkowski, any of those players that hadn't witnessed that before and, had seen it on the television or had seen it through videos but hadn't actually witnessed it. I mean, you heard Conor Cody in his first interview as an Everton player talk about those coach greetings and talk about how he used to watch them on television and think, wow, imagine being part of that. Well, he got the opportunity to be a part of that on Saturday as well, obviously, as the rest of the team who had experienced it before, but not for a couple of months. So again, I think that all played into not only the atmosphere, but the ultimate outcome of what the players were willing to give, because they've seen all of that outside the stadium again at 10:30 in the morning, which is extremely early on a Saturday morning, certainly for me. Those players will have seen the commitment of the thousands of fans that turned up on Goodison Road and City Road to cheer them on, to scream, to shout, the blue smoke, all of that sort of stuff, which is exactly what we wanted to see. And again, it done exactly what it did last season, and that was build an atmosphere going into the game of football. Far too many times last season, and in many seasons past, have we not being able to get an atmosphere going at Goodison Park, because most people are going out of their house before the game, going to the pub, having a few bevies and going straight to the ground. And again, it was almost like a trepidation of, what's today going to bring? Are we going to win today? Are we going to perform today? And it's much harder to get an atmosphere going when for the first 10 minutes people are only just sitting down and having a conversation about what they had for the tea last night. Whereas with these coach greetings and these showings of support before the game, you're already brewing that atmosphere, you're already building it. So when people are getting into the ground, the adrenaline's rushing through their body, they're up for it, they're ready to scream and shout because they've already done a lot of it. And then it takes a couple of hundred people in every sort of section of the stadium to start chanting, and all of a sudden everybody's involved, and you've seen that before the game had even kicked off, which is exactly what we needed. And that was replicated in the performance by the players as well. Before we get into that, Brad has put in a £4.49 super chat. Thank you very much, Brad. Really, really do appreciate that. Says, Liverpool fan here. Overall, I thought Everton played well, and the team as a whole are becoming a team that can grind out results. I agree, Brad. I agree. And as we said, we look a lot more composed. We look a lot more organised. We look a lot more structured. We look a lot more able to certainly avoid losing. And you've seen this tactic, and I'm not saying that this is what Frank Lampard is going for, but you've seen similar in previous years by various different teams in the Premier League. Wolves did it last year and I think ended up finishing 8th or something. I think Wolves only scored something like 30 odd goals last season, 40 odd goals, might be a little bit more than that, but it wasn't a massive amount whatsoever, and they ended up finishing within the top 10 because what Wolves did was they made sure that all of their games were 1-0s or 0-0s, or they didn't lose many games because they kept themselves organised. And I think that's what you're seeing at Everton at the moment. We're not going to see a season where we're scoring 3 or 4 in every game, certainly not whilst Dominic Calvert-Lewin is out injured. But what we are seeing is we're not losing games of football, or if we are losing, we're only, we're conceding 1. And as I said, we haven't lost now for 4 games, 4 Premier League games, 5 if you include the Carabao Cup fixture. So whilst we mightn't have an awful lot going forward, there'll be games where we will win 1-0, there'll be games where we'll win 2-1, there'll be games where we'll nick it, but defensively we look so much more organised, we look so much more compact, and as I said, I've got absolutely no doubt in my mind that last season, with different players and under different circumstances, we wouldn't have come out of Saturday with a result, or we wouldn't have come out of Leeds away with a result, or Brentford away with a result. So I agree, and thank you so much for that super chat. We will get in the live comments very, very shortly. But as I said, you saw, I think from the off, that atmosphere and the sort of the adrenaline that atmosphere created was running through the players as well. Now, okay, Liverpool were probably the better team for the opening 10 or 15 minutes, and okay, they kept the ball, but that was to what you expect. That was to what you expect. You expect a side like Liverpool to keep possession. You expect a side like Liverpool to, almost be the aggressor in the game. It was never about Everton trying to stand up to Liverpool and trying to aggress them for, be aggressive for 90 plus minutes and be that team, because that's how teams get beaten. That's how teams like Bournemouth get destroyed 9-0. Because when you try and go, toe to toe with a team that have got the quality that team have, you get the floor wiped with you. The tactic for me and the approach for me was spot on by Frank Lampard. It was absolutely spot on. It changed a little bit in the second half when I felt it could have been a little bit different, but the approach in the first half was allow them to have the ball. If they're going to have the ball, allow them to have it. Defend in an organised manner, defend well, keep them out. But when you get it and when you're going to attack, don't just lump it up and say, right, we're sitting 11 men behind the ball. Get at them, run at them, create space, get in behind, make them worry. And that's exactly what we did. I've had a couple of conversations with Liverpool fans into the game, and there seems to be this weird sort of outlook that Everton were massively defensive and Everton sat 11 men behind the ball for the entire game. No, we didn't at all. Sitting 11 men behind the ball is defending, and then when you get the ball, just lumping it back up the pitch and saying, yeah, have it back, come back at us. We didn't do that. I thought when we got the ball, we were good in possession. I thought Amadou Onana was absolutely excellent. I thought Alex Iwobi again was phenomenal. I thought both fullbacks were very good. Nathan Patterson was fucking absolutely unbelievable. And we as I said, we utilised the ball and we got at Liverpool, and that was always what was going to be important, because the reality of the situation is this Liverpool team, if you play to their strengths, is extremely good. And that Liverpool defence, if you play to their strengths, are extremely good. If you're going to sit there and lump the ball up to Virgil van Dijk, he'll deal with that all day. He's much better than most centre forwards in the air. He'll win most headers. He can take it down. If you give him time and space to win a header or win a ball and take it down, he'll be comfortable with that, and he'll look world class all day long, because you're playing into his strengths. What Everton needed to do against that Liverpool defence, including Van Dijk, including Alexander-Arnold, who we know is an average defender at best. He's a very good right back, because in the modern day, to be a very good right back, you've got to be able to do it going forward, and he can do it going forward better than most. But defensively, he's very, very average in my opinion. And what we did was we managed to exploit that by doing exactly what we should have done, and that was get at them, knock the ball past them, get in behind them, run at them, make them fear, make Van Dijk stand up against Anthony Gordon, make Van Dijk stand up against Damari Gray, give them a decision to make, give them something to worry about, not just lump the ball up and allow them to control the game their way. Give them something to worry about with the pace and with the energy we had on the attack, and we did that when we got the ball. As I said, obviously, they controlled possession and they had the majority of the possession, and if you look at the stats, it'd tell you that Liverpool were a much better team, but football doesn't work on stats, and ultimately this game didn't work on stats, because as I said, both sides had opportunities to win it, and on another day, both sides could have comfortably won the game. But I thought the tactic by Frank Lampard was absolutely spot on to, I think, be cautious and be careful of Liverpool's quality and Liverpool's creativity, but also don't be afraid of them. Get forward if you can get forward. Break if you can break, and be ferocious, be aggressive, be passionate in the tackle, be a team that ultimately get the fans on side. And I think Everton done that really, really, really well on Saturday. They gave us a couple of moments in that first half which gave us hope that, hang on, do you know what? We can get at these. These aren't great. Whether that be a little bit of pressure on one of the defenders, which forced them to put the ball out of play. Whether that be a chance created where we're breaking forward on the attack. And, we had a couple early on. Neil Maupay had one which he just about dragged wide. Onana had one where Maupay put him in and he couldn't quite get his feet together. And the shot was, in the end, comfortably safe. But they were moments that you looked and you thought, hang on, we can get at these. These aren't indestructible. These aren't, the team that they were 18 months ago. These aren't ultimately absolutely, as I said, unbeatable. They're still a very, very good team, and their attack is still very, very clinical. Of course it is, but you can get at them, you can create space in behind them, and we've done that really, really well. Defensively, I thought we were amazing again on Saturday. I thought we were absolutely fantastic again. Connor Cody and James Tarkowski. I mean, whoever at Wolves made the decision to move Connor Cody on because he couldn't play in a back four, firstly, thank you very much. Secondly, if he's still in a job, I don't know how he's still in a job, because Connor Cody can more than comfortably play in a back four, and Connor Cody, again, on Saturday, was excellent next to James Tarkowski, because what they bring is they bring solidity, they bring organisation, they bring quality. We've all seen the video of the behind the scenes of the Merseyside derby, and look, we can focus on Connor Cody's celebration when he scored, which was amazing, and we all love to see it, and it showed that any question of his alliance or his allegiances to any other football club, they were just knocked out the park with that celebration, because you could see how much it meant to him, how much he wanted to win that game, how much he loves playing for Everton Football Club. We can sit here and talk about his ability as a defender, but one thing for me was so evident in that behind the scenes video that Everton have put on the channel, and that's not the touching of the badge, which again is great, not the goal celebration, which again is great. If you watch it back, as the players are coming out for the second half, there's one player in the tunnel screaming, and he's screaming energy, 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 and it's Connor Cody, and he's screaming at the rest of his teammates, energy, energy, energy. That organisation, that leadership, that desire, that commitment, that is what Everton have been lacking. Two centre-halves who can stand up, and as I said, when the pair of them signed, I said this, when both of them signed, Connor Cody and James Tarkowski aren't going to blow your mind. Connor Cody and James Tarkowski aren't going to make you stand there and go, oh my God, these are the two best centre-halves to ever play football, to ever play the game. They're the best ever. But what they are going to do is they're going to give you a 7, potentially 8 out of 10 performance every single week without fail in terms of their defensive ability. But they also bring leadership. They also bring expectation. They also bring desire. They bring commitment. They'll throw themselves in if they need to throw themselves in to a tackle. They'll get involved if they need to get involved, and they will give 110% for the football club. And the pair of them have proved it time and time again this season, and the pair of them proved it again on Saturday. I don't think there was any Evertonian that will have gone into Goodison Park on Saturday fearful of how Connor Cody was going to act, because his boyhood club was Liverpool. Connor Cody has not been has not been quiet in the past about talking about who he supported and where he grew up and who he played for as a kid. We all know the facts. Even in his interview with Everton when he first signed, he didn't shy away from what is him as a human being. But what he showed on Saturday was Connor Cody is a top professional footballer, and he doesn't care who he's playing against. He doesn't care who he's coming up against. He is willing and wanting to do the very, very, very best for the team that he's playing for, and will give everything for the team that he's playing for. And he showed that in abundance on Saturday. I thought the defence, the pair of them, were once again solid as anything. And, it's going to be really, really difficult for Frank Lampard to make the decision when Mason Holgate comes back from injury, when Ben Goffrey comes back from injury, when Yerry Mina comes back from injury. Where do these players fit into this team? Because at the moment, I wouldn't be changing that back four for anybody. If you said to me now, Cam, Yerry Mina's back for Arsenal, Ben Goffrey's back for Arsenal, I wouldn't change it. I simply wouldn't change it, because I think the pair of them have got something really good going on. And okay, Yerry Mina might be technically a better defender than the pair of them on his day. I think what Everton have lacked massively over the years in many different forms, whether it be at the top of the club, whether it be in management, whether it be in players, Everton have lacked consistency. I don't think anybody would be able to disagree that in every single way of this football club being ran, from top to bottom, Everton have lacked consistency. And what Conor Cody and James Tarkowski bring you is consistency, organisation, leadership. And okay, Yerry Mina brings organisation, leadership, he brings quality, but he doesn't bring that consistency. And I don't think you can build a team around a player that you don't know whether he's going to be here next week. In Yerry Mina, you can build a team around Conor Cody and James Tarkowski because you know every single week they're going to be there. Look at their injury records over the last 3 years, practically non-existent. Such wood that doesn't change because we are Everton. But I thought the pair of them were excellent again. Nathan Patterson. I mean, Nathan Patterson was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And this is a lad who has settled in unbelievably quickly to this side, and very similarly actually to how Vitaly Mykolenko settled in towards the back end of last season. Don't get me wrong, I think Vitaly's been okay at the start of this season. I think he probably could have been a little bit better, but I don't think he's been particularly bad. He's maybe been in fault for a couple of goals or a couple of chances we've created, but I don't think he's particularly been bad at all. But Nathan Patterson has just been a whirlwind. He has been a massive, massive breath of fresh air. And look, I don't want to jump the gun, and I don't want to sit here and make any assumptions, and I don't want to sit here and, get it too carried away. But I honestly thought it would be a thankful task replacing Seamus Coleman. Seamus, who's been here for 10 plus years, has been the captain of the football club for the last, half a decade. Has been an unbelievable servant to the football club, an unbelievable professional, an unbelievable role model, an unbelievable, as I said, representative of Everton Football Club on and off the pitch, and an unbelievable fullback. But I just don't see a world in where Seamus Coleman gets back in over Nathan Patterson. Certainly not at the moment. And as I said, it's still only early days and we're only a few games into the season. But look at what he's just done in a Merseyside derby. One thing that I always felt would be difficult to replace with Seamus was that grit, that desire, that passion, that little bit of an edge, that little bit of snideness that Seamus always had. Nathan Patterson's got it in abundance. He's Glaswegian, very well-known players to not shy out of a tackle, to not shy out of a situation, to not shy out of the physicality, to feed off of that, energy that the crowd give you when you throw a tackle in. And that's exactly what Nathan Patterson does. You've seen it a couple of times, not only when we scored, you've seen a celebration, but when he put Darwin Núñez on his arse. He shouldered Darwin Núñez into, St. Luke's Church, and he shouldered Luis Diaz into the subway on County Road up the other end of the pitch. Just unbelievably clever and astute defending for such a young lad. Even going forward, the other end, the Tom Davies chance, which we'll talk about in a moment, come from Nathan Patterson looking like he was in a dangerous situation and then just turning on his player and getting out of it comfortably, giving it into Mopey, I think, whose shot was deflected, and then Tom Davies obviously hit the post, unfortunately. But defensively, the kid is just, he's fantastic, and he hasn't put a foot wrong all season, by the way. I think Nathan Patterson's performances this season have been a little bit shadowed by how good Alex Iwobi's been, because we've sat here after every game and said Alex Iwobi, and don't get me wrong, Alex Iwobi has been fucking phenomenal this season and was phenomenal again on Saturday. But if you actually look at all of those games, a very, very close second in every one of them is Nathan Patterson. I don't think he's put a performance in this season which we've gone, he wasn't particularly great today. He's had a couple of moments where he struggled. I think at Brentford he struggled a couple of times, but even in that game, he made 2 3-on-1 challenges where he saved us from conceding. So Nathan has been phenomenal, and he kept that up on Saturday. Same with Vitaly Mykolenko on the other side. Did anybody remember Mohamed Salah was playing until that last second when he saved that shot? I don't think they did. But as I said, that organisation, that quality, that defensive ability was there. It was always about whether we were going to be able to get forward and convert the chances in the possession that we had into opportunities, and we did that. As I said, we did that a couple of times in that first half. We had the Onana chance firstly in the opening 15 minutes. Okay, Liverpool were controlling the possession, Liverpool were controlling the ball, but we'd had the best chance of that moment, which is Onana breaking through, and obviously, again, making a little bit of a mess of his shot / cross, whatever it was. A couple of minutes later, we had another one where Mopé broke through, and again, dragged this shot wide a little bit, but they were promising signs. Not promising signs because we were close to scoring or because they were massive chances, but promising signs that we can get at this Liverpool team and we can cause them problems. Then, obviously, we have the Tom Davies chance, which, as I said, comes from Nathan Patterson being in a little bit of trouble and his quick feet getting him out of that trouble. He plays it into Mopé. Mopé can't quite control it. I think it's Mopé anyway. And Tom Davies does absolutely brilliantly, and I can't convey enough how good Tom Davies does for this opportunity to get the connection with the outside of his foot and curl towards the goal. And Tom is effectively at that point done everything that he can. Alisson is completely beaten, and you don't often say that because Alisson's a very, very good goalkeeper. And unfortunately for Everton, it strikes the top of the bar sort of slash post. It's sort of in that area, isn't it? And comes bouncing back out. And I think that was the first time the entire stadium thought these are vulnerable, as in these being Liverpool, and we can get at them. And it's so unfortunate for Tom. It really, really is so unfortunate for Tom because I thought he had a really, really, really good game. I thought he had a really, really, really good game on Saturday. And he was probably a little bit unlucky to be taken off. I understand why he was taken off because we needed fresh legs. We needed, a little injection of pace. And obviously, we all know Idrissa Gana Gueye brings that because, of him being at the club previous. And also, I think the physical side of things, taking Tom off for Ghana made more sense because obviously you didn't want to lose Onana's height. You didn't want to lose Onana's size. So it made more sense. But I thought Tom Davies was brilliant on Saturday. I thought his effort, his desire, his work rate, he wanted to get stuck in, his passing was good, his movement of the ball was good, and as I said, that shot was fantastic and was so unlucky, and imagine that would have gone in. People take the piss out of Tom Davies and people sit here and say he's not good enough, this, that and the other. Listen, is Tom Davies good enough to start week in, week out for Everton and be somebody we rely on if we're going to be a success in the future? Maybe not. Is Tom Davies good enough to be a squad player for Everton and feature, in a Premier League season? Absolutely. And I think he showed against a very, very good Liverpool team in a Merseyside derby that he can do that because he wasn't out of place on Saturday. He put in a very, very solid, very, very good performance in my opinion. And as I said, imagine that would have gone in. Local lad, Evertonian all his life, grew up an Evertonian, had a struggle the last couple of years to keep in the team and to stay injury free, and obviously had his doubters in the fan base, and rightly so because his performances haven't particularly been great consistently. Imagine that would have gone in for him. Not only would it have been a Merseyside derby goal for Everton, but it would have been a really, really well taken goal. And I think, put it this way, had that have been hit by a player in red, there would have been much more made about it because the technique was fantastic, and unfortunately it managed to hit the post. But as I said at the start of the scene, this was a very well contested, very even Merseyside derby, and Liverpool not very long after went up the other end, a big lumped ball up, which is interesting because whenever teams do that against Liverpool, their manager seems to moan about teams being one-dimensional and not wanting to play football against us, but they resorted to lumping the ball forward. Darwin Núñez does the only thing he managed to do in the game other than get bodied by Nathan Patterson and try an overhead kick facing the wrong way. But he takes it down on his chest. He hits the volley at Jordan Pickford, makes the first of many unbelievable saves in this game of football. And this really, really is world class by Jordan Pickford. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the shot is good by Darwin Núñez. I've seen a lot of people say, oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's one of the best shots. It's not. It's not actually that hard of a technique in reality. But in a Premier League game of football, a Merseyside derby, in that situation, it's a good effort. Jordan Pickford makes an absolutely outstanding save to deny him. Luis Diaz picks the ball up and obviously gets it on the edge of the box as another shot and it's the post. So in the space of 10 minutes, Everton have hit the post. And could have been 1-0 up, and Liverpool have gone up the other end, hit the bar and then hit the post. So again, both teams having chances to be up in the game, and on another day again, after 15, 20 minutes or 25, 30 minutes, whatever it was, it would have been 1-1. Again, I had a few Liverpool fans saying, oh yeah, but we hit the post twice, so that meant we'd have been winning. Well, no, it doesn't, because you hit the post twice, because the first one hit the post, so if it had gone in, then you wouldn't have hit the post again, would you? Absolute fools. But anyway, again, it was at that point I sort of sat back and went, these are still a threat. And I think it was a reminder to everybody within the stadium, including Frank Lampard and the players, that although they mightn't be at their best, although they've had a poor start to the season, although they're giving us chances and they're giving us space, they're still an incredibly dangerous outfit, and they've still got players with quality that can seriously hurt you. And it was almost like a, right, switch on now, because that was a bit close. I want to talk about Jordan Pickford. Obviously, we'll talk about him a lot more as the season goes on, because his saves were phenomenal. He made 8 saves in this game. 2 or 3 of them were world class, that one being one of them. The one to deny Mohamed Salah at the end of the game is, again, another contender for save of the season already. But I want to talk about Jordan for a second, because what we're seeing in the media now is quite laughable, really. And what we've seen over the last few days is quite laughable. And what that is all of a sudden a loving for Jordan Pickford. Oh, Jordan was world class. Jordan was outstanding. Jordan was this. Jordan's amazing. He's undoubtedly England's number one. All of this facade of nonsense that I completely see through. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people say, well, hang on, Cam. When they don't say this about Jordan Pickford, you moan. When they do say it about Jordan Pickford, you moan. That's not my point. My point is firstly, anybody that still seems to believe that Jordan Pickford isn't undoubtedly England's number one, you are thick as pig shit, and you do not understand football. And I don't care if I offend anybody by saying that. It is absolute fact. Jordan Pickford, forget England's number one. Jordan Pickford is on another stratosphere to Aaron Ramsdale and Nick Pope. He simply is. Jordan Pickford is one of the best goalkeepers on the planet. Never mind English goalkeepers in the game. He's one of the best goalkeepers on the planet. And for anybody that wants to come at me with your Aaron Ramsdale arguments, Aaron Ramsdale dived the wrong way for a shot against Manchester United. He dived to his near post when Anthony was positioned his body to go to the far post. So Aaron Ramsdale is completely out the argument. Aaron Ramsdale has got the 3rd worst shot to save ratio in the Premier League, and has had since April. So take your Aaron Ramsdale and bounce with it. Nick Pope conceded the goal in the 98th minute the other day. He's 73 foot and it was hit straight at him and it went over his head. So forget your Nick Pope arguments as well. I'm sick of having this. One week it's Ramsdale, next week it's Henderson, next week it's Nick Pope. None of them are better than Jordan Pickford, and this performance was world class by Jordan and was outstanding by Jordan, but wasn't a surprise to any of us. Anybody that watched Jordan Pickford last season wouldn't have been surprised by that performance on Saturday. We come out the stadium going, that's Jordan at his very best, that he's world class. It wasn't a, oh my god, he's unbelievable, it was unbelievable, he's the best ever. It was just, that's Jordan at his best. Jordan was at his best against Chelsea at home last season. In many a game last season, Jordan was at his best, because you know what Jordan is? A top fucking goalkeeper. And he won't get that recognition. And all of this stuff in the media, it's not, oh, we're finally going to give Jordan Pickford recognition. We're finally going to admit that he's England's number one, undoubtedly. What it is a facade for the media to make an excuse as to why Liverpool Football Club didn't win that game. Jordan Pickford saves the day for Everton. Jordan Pickford saves, ensure Everton a point, this, that and the other. Okay, in a literal sense, they did. He saved the Salah chance, Everton get a point. He saved the Núñez chance, Everton get a point. Jordan Pickford was world class the other day, undoubtedly, as he has been on a number of times for Everton before. Go and watch Everton's last 7 games of the season, and you will come out of it believing Jordan Pickford is world class if you haven't already seen them. This media stuff, let's not get it twisted. It's not because they've changed their mind on Jordan Pickford. It's because it gives them an excuse as to why Liverpool didn't win a game of football. It's as simple as that. Liverpool didn't win because Jordan Pickford was amazing. Everton were lucky because they had Jordan Pickford. Firstly, you're not lucky if you've got a genuine world-class player. Were Liverpool lucky to win the Champions League because they had good players? No, they weren't. They were lucky. They won the Champions League because they had really good players, because they recruited well. Everton aren't lucky to have Jordan Pickford. Jordan Pickford is world-class at his job, and Everton employed Jordan Pickford to do that because he's world-class at his job. It's not luck. It's for a rare situation with Everton. It's great recruitment. When these media outlets are talking about Jordan Pickford being amazing and this, that and the other, they're failing to mention Conor Cody's offside goal, which was offside by millimetres. They're failing to mention the fact that that Neil Mopey had the one-on-one chance that he missed. They're failing to mention the fact that Anthony Gordon had a couple of chances that on another day he could do better with. They're failing to admit the chance that McNeil had, which deflected, which was a world-class save by Alisson. They're failing to talk about the Davis chance that hit the post. The reality of the situation is about Saturday is it can be summed up in one simple way. Both goalkeepers saved their teams. Jordan Pickford saved Everton. Alisson saved Liverpool. It's as simple as that. And it's not a case of Jordan Pickford saves Everton from Merseyside derby defeat. But it's not, is it? Because if Alisson wasn't on his top form, Everton could have had 2 or 3 goals comfortably. And if Conor Cody is 2 sizes lower in boot size, then we win the game of football anyway. Jordan was world class, absolutely world class. But it wasn't a case of Everton only got something out of the game because Jordan Pickford was world class. It was a case of a very, 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 very well contested Merseyside derby in which both teams could have won on another day. So when I'm reading this stuff about Jordan Pickford, again, I don't know if anybody else looks at it this way or whether I'm just maybe looking at it a little bit too much, but I see through it. I completely see through it because all as it is them trying to find an excuse as to why Liverpool didn't win the game. Oh, Liverpool didn't win that game because Jordan Pickford was unbelievable. No, Liverpool didn't win that game because, yes, Jordan Pickford was unbelievable, but Everton didn't win that game because Alisson was unbelievable, or Everton didn't win that game because Neil Mopey was a little bit rusty and didn't take his chance, or Conor Cody was inches offside. So I just thought I'd get that out there because, I see right through it, and as I said, anybody that seems to believe that any of those English goalkeepers, because it changes. I'm sick of keeping up with it. 3 weeks ago it was Ramsdale. I'm going on YouTube and Twitter comments now, and it's Nick Pope. Now, Nick Pope was nowhere 3 weeks ago in these conversations. It was Adam Ramsdale. But now they've looked and gone, well, actually, Adam Ramsdale is a bit shite. He's just conceded. And listen, obviously, very facetious. I think Adam Ramsdale's a good goalkeeper. I think he's a decent goalkeeper. He's very young, and I think he will one day be the country's number one, and he will one day be top class. He's nowhere near Jordan Pickford now. It's as simple as that. Neither is Nick Pope. Nick Pope was in this conversation about 3 years ago, and then people went, actually, he's not that great. The reality of the situation is, for whatever reason, maybe it's because of his personality, maybe it's because of his confidence, maybe it's because he plays for Everton, but for whatever reason, a lot of the people that live in this country and are from this country do not like Jordan Pickford for whatever reason and seem to think that he's not a great goalkeeper. Go and ask Alisson. To any Liverpool fan that sits there still after a Saturday and thinks, oh, he's not a great keeper, go and ask Alisson what he thinks of Jordan Pickford, and I guarantee you Alisson will say, he's top class him. Go and ask Ederson what he thinks of Jordan Pickford. Go and ask any goalkeeper in the Premier League what they think of Jordan Pickford. They'll tell you. Go and ask Alan Ramsdale what he thinks about Jordan Pickford. He'll probably say, yeah, he's next level. Sick of these idiots that base their football knowledge on TikTok and FIFA and what certain YouTubers who support other clubs but pretend to support other clubs on YouTube say, because it's utter nonsense. Anyway, I went on a little rant there. I apologise. Jordan Pickford was unbelievable on Saturday. He was absolutely unbelievable. He made 8 saves, 2 or 3 of them were genuinely world class, and the rest were saves that, okay, we expect Jordan to make because he's Jordan Pickford. And he's, again, as I said, he's a world-class goalkeeper, but not every goalkeeper would make the Firmino one where he gets down to his left, the one where Firmino where he gets it on the volley, the Nunez one where he gets on the volley. Very, very, very good saves that many other goalkeepers would not have saved. But as I said, back to the point, we go in at half time and there's signs there to suggest that A, we can get at them, we can create chances, we can cause them problems, but B, they can also do the same. And it was a very well fought, hard fought battle in first half with chances for both teams, and I think both sets of fans were going in thinking could have gone one way or the other, that one. And as I said, one thing that was quite clearly evident was the identity, the fact that we had an identity, the fact that we had fight, desire, passion. We weren't just sitting back, we weren't just there to take part and to get beaten, we were there to compete and we were there to win the game. Let's get into some of the live comments then before we go into talking about the second half. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Sunday train tickets for Arsenal released, says Eugene. Yes. David says hello. Up the top, he says, gang, come on you Blues. Glad we held the line against the gentlemen across the park. Says Wonderlust. Ian says, afternoon, Cam. Things are looking up for our beloved football club. Mate Frank and Kevin doing their jobs well. Yeah, I agree. If you are enjoying the live stream, by the way, please hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. That would mean a massive amount to me as well. I know it's been said 100 times, but Frank is the first manager I've really liked since Martinez's first season, says Louis. Well, there's definitely a rally behind Frank Lampard at the moment from Evertonians, and there's definitely that emotional connection. And okay, the end of last season probably had a lot to do with that because of the ongoings in that sense. But there's definitely a relationship between Frank Lampard and Evertonians that I agree. I don't think any managers had since probably Roberto Martinez. I don't think Marco Silva ever really had it. I don't think Ronald Koeman never really had it. Even Carlo, to an extent, I don't think Carlo ever really had it because of COVID, to be honest. I think Carlo would have had it had we have been able to go to, stadiums and been able to watch Everton in that season. But the fact that I think Carlo Ancelotti only managed 6 or 7 games at Goodison Park in his time at the club with fans in the stadium, just meant that relationship was never able to form. Okay, it was formed over social media and we loved them and this, that and the other, but it was never what it is with Frank Lampard. I don't care about entertaining neutrals, but it was a great match. No, I agree. As I said, I've said it many a times on this channel, mate. I couldn't care less if you watch Everton and you're bored to fuck. As long as Everton get a result, I don't mind. But my point is that there will have been a lot of people that were entertained watching that. Not that I give a shit, because if we'd have been beaten 6-0, there'd have been a lot of people entertained, and I wouldn't give a fuck. But it was a very, 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 very well contested game of football, which is mad because Liverpool finished 1 point above the champions last season and went to every final he could, and Everton finished 2 or 3 points above relegation. So the fact that we've just managed to have a well contested Merseyside derby only months later just tells you a lot about both clubs and the situation that both clubs are currently in, and that works in favour of Everton much more than it does in Liverpool's favour. Up the Everton Toffee, says William. John says it feels like the game against Arsenal will be a different performance than the one last day of the season. I agree. Austin says, glad I got to meet you in Baltimore. Up the Everton Toffees, I'm glad we seem to be progressing and forming something under Frank. Nice to meet you, my mate. Yeah, absolutely. Our groove may not have come back yet, but our soul is definitely back, says Wonderlust. And Chris says, been a Blues since 63, Cam. Feel like we've got something going on for the first time since David Moyes. Come on, you Blues. I think a lot of Blues are very much feeling like that as well. And Anthony says, are you serious, Cam? We've never been as bad under any manager than Lampard. See, listen, Frank Lampard's stats as an Everton manager mightn't be as good as many others in terms of games played. But how many other Everton managers have been in the position Frank Lampard's been in? How many other Everton managers have been faced with relegation in January and had to overcome a fan base that were completely against the players and the board and the club, a group of players that were dejected and had no motivation and seemingly had no real care of wanting to play for Everton Football Club? How many managers have had to overcome that whilst overcoming financial problems, whilst overcoming many people leaving the football club and losing their jobs and this and that and the other? So we can look at stats and go, well, Frank hasn't won as many games as this manager. But no other manager at Everton in my lifetime anyway, obviously there's been managers in the past, but no one of the managers at Everton in my lifetime has had to go through that. The Mighty Blues says, hey up Cam and fellow Blues, sorry for joining late because of work shit. Spot on, Cam, for calling out the gobshite media's narrative. That was a good derby for once. We were competitive but unlucky. Yeah, absolutely. And as Paddy says, Anthony's absolutely entitled to his own opinion, of course. We're all entitled to our own opinion. That's why we are here. That's why we're here. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit the like button. 55 likes, 100 people watching. If you could get the likes up, that'd be amazing. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe. Let me just say this before we move on, before I forget. We will be doing a live stream tomorrow about the summer transfer window where we address and sit back and take a look on Everton's transfer window, the signings we made, the players we sold, whether we think it's a good one, whether we think it's a bad one, blah, 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 blah. We'll be doing that tomorrow evening, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because if you do hit the subscribe button, it will mean that you'll get notified, if you hit the notification bell as well, when that stream starts, so you can come and join us and get involved in those conversations as well. I'm looking forward to that one, because I've got probably a different view on the transfer window than a lot of people have, so I think it'll be interesting to have that conversation. Kadim says, getting big, Cam. Cheers, mate. Yeah, so anyway, Everton come out for the second half, and as I said, for me, I was sitting there in my seat, and I remember looking towards my dad and saying, it's going to be interesting how he approaches this second half, because firstly, we're 45 minutes away from getting a result. In a result that, as I said, a point before the game, I think a lot of Evertonians would have taken, including Frank Lampard. But also, there were signs in that first half that we could get at Liverpool. There were signs in that first half that we could get, a goal and potentially go and get a result out of the game, as well as there being signs that they're also still very dangerous and they're also still capable of getting a goal. And again, it could have gone either way. They could have been 1-0 up in that first half. We could have been 1-0 up in that first half. I said at the start of the team, I think Frank's tactics were pretty much spot on, barring I think a little bit of the second half where we were maybe a little bit too defensive. I do think there was a period of 15-20 minutes in that second half where Liverpool were completely in control and we were a little bit more wasteful with the ball. We're a little bit more keen to just volley it up the pitch to nobody and give it back to them. Maybe that was on purpose because of change of tactic. Maybe that was sort of an accidental players panicking and a bit of a lack of composure, etc. I'm not too sure. But, again, we still had our chances. We still had our opportunities. We still had chances to win the game. Liverpool, don't get me wrong, they had a couple of opportunities as well. They had a couple of chances to ultimately get back in to ultimately go in front. And I think Everton, once again, in that second half, defended really, really, really well. But we had opportunities. Brad's donated another £1.79. By the way, he says, apart from Pickford, I thought Onana deserved man of the match. Onana was excellent. We had opportunities. As I said, the midfield were, I think, pivotal in the way that we played, certainly in that second half, because that second half was always going to be about the resilience. It was always going to be about how much we wanted to get a result in that game. It's all right doing it in the first 45 minutes when you've only just started playing and you're not tired and there's no fatigue and there's no sort of bear and drain of the game on you, and decisions haven't gone against you or whatever. It's different in the second half when you're a lot more tired. There's a lot more sort of pressure in the situation, and obviously you're coming up against a team that can make changes. Liverpool could afford to bring on 2 or 3 really, really good players in that second half, so it was different. And as I said, I thought Amadou Onana, once again, was absolutely outstanding on Saturday. We talk about Nathan Patterson settling into this team and how, Vitaly Mykolenko settled into this team. Those players have had 6 months, 7 months, even longer, 9 months to really settle into Everton, and that's still a very, very, very quick time period to settle into a new football club and to be able to perform at the level that they're performing at. But Amadou Onana's had about 3 weeks. He's had about 3 weeks, not only to settle into the football club, not only to settle into the league, but to settle into a new country, settle into a new society, a new way of living. And he's doing that almost as if it's not a kid in the world to him. Now, this is a young lad, by the way, 21 years old, only just turned 21 years old, who has played in a number of countries before, has played in France, in Germany, I believe, so is no stranger to moving about and, having to adapt to different ways of playing and styles and systems and pace of the game, etc., etc. But even with that fact, I didn't quite think he would be this comfortable this early on in his Everton career. He's fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic. And having a player like Amadou Onana, a 6'5" central midfielder who's good with the ball at his feet, can move the ball well, will get involved with the physical battle. But also, I said this in the instant match reaction, and I'll say it again, we're talking about a lad here who goes to ground fairly often to make challenges, puts himself about, will go to ground to make slide challenges, will put himself on the floor, and more often than not, and when I say more often than not, I'm talking pretty much every single time, wins the ball. I don't think I've seen him put a sliding challenge in, since becoming an Everton player, where he hasn't won the ball, which is mad, because for somebody of his size and for somebody of his structure, you would think that at least a couple of times when he went down with a challenge, he'd catch the player or he'd catch the man and he give away a foul. But he doesn't. Every single time he does it, he gets the ball, and he doesn't only get the ball. More often than not, he gets a good outcome for the team. So he either, flicks the ball back and then we get on the counter-attack, or he knocks the ball into the opposition player and it goes out for, a goal kick or a throw-in or whatever. The lad is just absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And you put him next to Alex Iwobi, who's also been absolutely phenomenal. And that is a partnership that I hope is never ever broken up. And yes, we can sit here and talk about Tom Davies and how Tom Davies performed on Saturday. And as I said, I thought he was very, very good. And we can sit here and talk about the induction of Idrissa Gana-Gueye or James Garner. But I think one thing has to be very evident and very obvious. And that is that Alex Iwobi and Amadou Onana never have that centre midfielder partnership broken up. And don't get me wrong, I do think we need the third man in there. And, you know, there's a lot of sort of talk and hype around Onana, Garner and Iwobi being that midfield three. That won't be able to happen for every game this season because of Garner's age and stamina and stuff like that. Again, I know we can sit here and say we don't have to question his stamina, but he will be moved out. You will have Davis in there. You will have James Garner in there. And obviously, you know, Onana and Iwobi can't play every single game this season, and they'll have to have time where they're out the team. But I think the constant has to be Onana and Iwobi, because the pair of them have been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal so far this season. And, you know, again on Saturday, I thought Amadou Onana was excellent. He was everywhere. Do you know what he did? He caused problems to that Liverpool midfield. And listen, Liverpool fans will tell you that they've got 87,000 players out injured because they've got one first team midfielder out injured. And the rest of them are under 16 players that they bring up every single time you mention injuries. But the reality is that we're still a midfield that consisted of players that not very long ago were challenging for Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues, and Amadou Onana stepped in there and really, really give them something to think about and give them something to worry about. And obviously you've had Iwobi in there who's just been a breath of fresh air. Not only did he send Mohamed Salah into another dimension with his footwork, but he has been a breath of fresh air. And I think I've said it before, but I will say it again on the channel, because I really want to reiterate that Alex Iwobi's technical ability, I don't think has ever been doubted. Even in the 3 years he's been at Everton, where he struggled and where he hasn't necessarily been a fan favourite, I don't think anybody at any point was able to sit there and say Alex Iwobi's footwork and Alex Iwobi's technical ability isn't very good, because it's always been very good. It was always just about whether or not he could do it in the right areas, do it in the right situations, and ultimately do it with confidence and show that ability. We've all known that it's been there because we've seen it before, but it was always a question of why he can't quite get to it. Well, now we're seeing him get to it. That footwork, Alex Iwobi was the best footballer on the pitch on Saturday in terms of his ability with the ball at his feet, and will be the best footballer on many a pitch this season because he is extremely good with the ball at his feet. He's very street footballer-esque, very, very street footballer-esque. The question with Iwobi before this season, and well, before Frank Lampard really, was his attitude, his desire, his commitment, and his ability to put that quality to test. We all know, you only have to go on YouTube and you'll find many unbelievable, players with the ball at their feet, unbelievable freestylers, players that can do mad things with the ball at their feet, but they're not Premier League footballers because they haven't got everything else. And that was very much what Alex Iwobi was in that category of, whereas now we're seeing him do everything else. And then when he does that fancy footwork and when he's got the ball at his feet and he's doing everything else, you look and thinking this lad is absolutely special. And at the moment, Alex Iwobi is understanding that, hang on, if I work hard here, if I battle, if I fight for every ball, if I do the simple things really well, and then I implement the quality I've got, he will be a first teamer for Everton for as long as he's at this football club. Because he's had such a positive impact on this team, and him and Onana, as I said, at the moment have got a really, really, really good partnership together, and I hope it's never broken up. We obviously had the induction of Gana-Gueye into the team. Coming on for Tom Davies. As I said, Tom probably a little bit unlucky to be taken off, but okay, I understand it. For the size and the similarity. Garner comes back on and fits like a glove, doesn't it? It really, really is like he's never been away. And I'm not just saying that because he's, we like him and he's an ex-player and we wanted him back, etc., etc. I'm saying it because he's come in there against one of the best teams in the league, a team that I don't think will be anywhere near winning the league this season, but they will challenge for the league title. Of course they will, because they're still one of the best teams in the country. I think one thing was quite evident when Garner come on, and that was you can't have tell he's been playing with Messi, Neymar and Mbappe, because the first thing he did was fire the ball at Vitaly Mykolenko, which was interesting because he will have been used to firing balls at world-class players in Paris, and they will have taken it under their stride with no issue. And don't get me wrong, Vitaly Mykolenko took the ball really, really well, but I think it made a lot of Goodison go, oh shit, take a little bit of weight off that because we aren't PSG. But the rest of his game, he was absolutely exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. We're talking about a lad here who just waltzed around the midfield as if he was playing a Sunday League team. As if he wasn't playing one of the best midfields in the league and one of the best teams in the league, just comfortably, just moving the ball. He had a couple of chances where he had the ball on his right foot and he was under a little bit of pressure, so he just shifted this to his left foot comfortably. His passing was spot on, his movement, his burst, his desire. He was sitting on that sort of, especially towards the last 10-15 minutes when Liverpool were attacking and Liverpool had a little bit more agency. He was just sitting in that 6 role on the edge of the box, just picking up the pieces. Just every single time the ball bobbled, he was getting it and moving it out, or hitting it away, or passing it out, or dribbling round players and getting it out. He was excellent. He was absolutely excellent. And, he said himself, it's like I've never been away. And I think every single Evertonian at Goodison Park or beyond watching on television felt the exact same way. It was very much like he's never been away situation. He was quality. And I think having him in this team will make a massive impact. As I said, okay, we may be a little bit more defensive in that second half, but we had our chances. The Mopé one for me is devastating. It's absolutely devastating. We break, again, from a Liverpool attack. We break really, really well. Defend the attack well. We break with Damari Gray. Damari Gray does a really, really nice sort of dink over, I can't remember who it was, but does a nice dink over the Liverpool player. Gets on a run. And I was thinking at this point, this is it. We're going to score from this. Gets into the box, drags it across. It's just beyond Anthony Gordon. Forced to Neil Mopé. I think he's got Garner next to him. Might be Iwobi, actually. And he's got Onana next to him. But obviously, 5 yards away from goal on his Everton debut. Neil Mopé, by the way, who I think ran more than any other player on the pitch, 11.5k or something, created more chances than any other player on the pitch. Neil Mopé was always going to shoot in that situation. And you know what? In hindsight, we can sit here and go, he should have passed it, he should have squared to Onana, he should have made a different decision. But in that situation, I don't think there was one Evertonian in Goodison Park that wasn't scheming for him to shoot. He lets fly, and, ultimately, I think there was a little bit of panic, and I think there was a little bit of maybe match sharpness come into play. In the sense that, firstly, his first touch isn't great. He doesn't get it out of his feet very well. He gets it out of his feet in a situation where he's got to hit it. Secondly, his shot. It's sort of a weird shot. If you look at it again, I'm not too sure whether he's trying to dink it, whether he's trying to just smack it at Alisson, or whether he's trying to get a bit of a sort of a loop on it. I'm not really sure. But he hits it straight at Alisson, and Alisson, look, it'll go down as a really, really good save. But again, it's a save that you would expect him to make because it's hit straight at him. But it was just another one of them, wasn't it, where you think, I remember Dominic Calvert-Lewin had the chance in a Merseyside derby a few years ago at Goodison, a game in which we drew. I can't remember if it was 0-0 or 1-0, but he had a chance at the end of the game where you sort of put your head in your hands and think, that's it. That's the chance that we needed to convert. And when you watch the replay of the Mopé opportunity, it's heartbreaking. It really, really is heartbreaking. And I'm not going to sit here and have a go at Neil Mopé and start screaming and shouting and, passing judgment because it was his debut. As I said, I thought he had a really, really good game, worked hard, battled, ran the length of the pitch multiple times, created chances, but you just sort of sit there, don't you, and go, if only he'd have scored that, if only he'd have put that in the back of the net, and had he have put that in the back of the net, it would have been a completely different game. Now, that's not to say that, Liverpool could say, well, had Salah have put his chance in the back of the net, or Nunez, or whatever, it'd have been a different game, but, I think it was the best chance of the game, barring the Conor Cody goal. It was, even including all of Liverpool's chances. They were well made and well figured and good efforts, but I think that was a chance that, again, you expect the centre forward to score. And I'm not writing Neil Mopé off because, as I said, there's different mitigating circumstances as to why he didn't score, but it was sort of a fucking how have you not put that in the back of the net? And when he didn't put it in the back of the net, I think there was two feelings every Evertonian had. One was, are we going to regret that? But the other was, we can still get at these. These are still giving us chances. These are still giving us space in behind. And again, it was a perfect example of Everton being a strong, structured, organised defensive unit, but also being able to break with pace, break with power, and really put this Liverpool team under pressure. And that's how you get it, Liverpool. I said it in the preview. You don't get it, Liverpool, by lumping the ball up and trying to hold it up and play it off, because the two defenders will just deal with that all day. You get it, Liverpool, by getting in behind them, hitting them with pace, hitting them with power, and ultimately running at their defence, because their defence don't like being ran at. A few minutes later, again, Liverpool in between these chances have had their own chances. It was very even. It was almost like we had the chance, they had the chance. They had one where they brought Firmino on and he had a shot, and Pickford got down really, really well to his right-hand side. They had one where Nunez had a shot and it was saved well. Another one where Firmino had a volley from a Salah cross and it was saved well. But Everton get a goal. Ball comes in towards Neil Maupay. Maupay takes it down, fires it across goal. And who's there to put it into the back of the net? Conor Cody. Poetic justice, irony. What a day! What an event! What a player to break the deadlock! What a player to score! Former Liverpool player, former Liverpool fan. Conor Cody puts it into the back of the net, runs away in celebration as if he's been an Evertonian all of his life. His kids were there with his wife sitting in the main stand, not in the posh corporate seats, sitting in the main stand with every other fan, screaming, shouting. Kids had Everton kits on, singing all of the songs. Conor Cody runs away in celebration, very clearly loving it. As I said, everybody screaming, Maupay, Patterson. Cody gives a bit of the hard chest. He only done it once, I think he might have realised. Only give it that, blowing up to the crowd, and I'm sitting there, and you know what? My instant, and this is horrible, because I stood up and I screamed and I shouted and I celebrated and I was jumping everywhere, and I was visibly and obviously emotionally happy. But the moment that I saw it flash up that it was Conor Cody that scored, I just had this feeling that he was offside. And this is, listen, I'm not going to sit here and go in on VAR. We'll talk about the red card in a second. But I'm not going to sit here and have a massive go at VAR, because the reality of the situation is that it's a video for another day. And it's a video that we might do. I've done a video on this channel about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was about 3 years ago, where I sat here and I said VAR isn't the problem, it's the people that are running it. And that hasn't changed in the 3 years that it's been. That hasn't changed. But as soon as I saw it was Conor Cody and not Neil Maupay, because I sit in the park end, so I was the other end of the pitch. I just sort of had an inkling it was offside, and it would have just been too perfect, wouldn't it? It would have just been the perfect end to the story. Merseyside derby, Everton haven't won a game all season. Conor Cody, former Liverpool player, Liverpool fan, turns up, scores the winner, screams and shouts, shows his allegiances with Everton, and we're all happy. We all go for a pint, we all go to Pot World for a little boogie and a couple of Jaeger bombs, and we're all made up. It was never going to end like that, because why would it end like that? Conor Cody visibly loved it. And it was unfortunate to get chalked out, because you could see how much it meant to him to score. And ultimately, it was chalked out. And listen, when you see the replay, I've seen a couple of different pictures of it. The one I've seen from the television and from the one that it was seemingly used, it seems offside. Now, is there an argument to be had that the ball actually deflects off James Milner's foot, who goes for the sliding challenge, therefore in the rule book would mean that it wasn't offside? Yes, there is. Dermot Gallagher, who hasn't got a fucking clue about football and is a complete and utter moron, seems to think that wouldn't matter. But it'd be interesting to hear what Dermot Gallagher's thoughts would have been had Mohamed Salah have scored that goal at the other end. I think it would have been very different. But look, judging by the lines, and if you're going off the fact that Milner's touch wasn't intentional, even though it very clearly was, because he intentionally tried to block the ball. Cody was a foot offside, a foot as in a literal foot. And yeah, it was ruled out, and it was then up to Everton to go again. It was then up to Everton to think, again, we can get at them, again, we can hurt them, but we have to be cautious of them going up the other end. They had a couple of chances up the other end, Liverpool, again. testing Jordan Pickford. Jordan really come into his own at this point and was absolutely on fire, and it became quite evident at that point that Liverpool weren't getting past Jordan Pickford no matter what they threw at him. We then had another chance with Dwight McNeil, where, again, Dwight McNeil's come on at this point, ball forced to Dwight McNeil, he goes for the curler, it's deflected, once again, off of James Milner, and Alisson makes a world-class save. And this was my point at the start of the scene when I said about this media narrative of Jordan Pickford saved Everton. That save from Alisson to deny the deflected shot was world-class. Absolutely. It wasn't quite as good as Jordan's, but it was world-class. And then you watch the replay of that, and it's quite evident that Virgil van Dijk turns his back to it, and James Milner actually moves his arm towards it. Go and watch the replay of it. James Milner stood here like this. The ball comes close to him, and he does that. He moves his arm towards it. It knocks his arm where his elbow is there, and it deflects over, and obviously Alisson makes the save. Again, different side of the pitch. Team wearing a different colour. 20 minutes to go. That's given as a penalty. I don't care what anybody says. That's given as a penalty. You can sit here all we like and say it comes off Van Dijk or it's not intentional. That movement is intentional, and that's exactly what James Milner does. Obviously, it wasn't given. It was an unlucky chance, and we go again. Nottingham comes from the corner. 15-20 minutes to go before the end of the game, and Virgil van Dijk leaves one on Amadou Onana. Now, as I said, I'm not going to sit here and have a go at VAR, because I probably am going to do another video this week where we sit down and we just rip it to bits, because I haven't ripped it to bits for a while, and I feel like it needs to be ripped to bits this week. But how this isn't deemed as a red card is absolutely beyond me. And I put a tweet out earlier today or yesterday, and I'll say it again. I'll reiterate what I said on Twitter, and I'll say it again. The only reason this wasn't given as a red card is because there was 20 minutes to go in the game, 15-20 minutes to go in the game. Everton were still causing a threat to Liverpool, and were still seemingly in the game and had chances to score. And it was Virgil van Dijk who was the perpetrator. There was not a chance that those referees and those VAR were going to allow Virgil van Dijk to be sent off with 20 minutes to go at Goodison in a derby that Everton are very, very much in and very much contesting. There was not a chance that was going to be allowed to happen. It's a sending off all day long. All day long. Dermot Gallagher told us last season when Allan was sent off against Newcastle, Dermot Gallagher, in his very own words, told us that if the challenge is above the ankle and the studs are up, it's a sending off. Dermot Gallagher yesterday said, it's not a sending off because the impact's on the foot. Hang on, the initial impact is above the ankle and the studs are up. So by your very own analysis, it's a sending off. Dermot Gallagher, as I said before, is a moron. I would say it to his face. I would say it here. I would say it anywhere. He's a moron who, A, either doesn't understand how football should be refereed, or purposely is making these assumptions because he didn't want Everton to win, or because he's of knowledge of that the referees are being told, don't send Virgil van Dijk off because Everton could win this game, and what a nightmare that would be. One of the two. It's a sending off, and ultimately it changes the game. Frank Lampard said it changes the game. Liverpool down to 10 men at Goodison with 10-15 minutes to go. Everton confident, the crowd on top, creating chances, getting forward, causing them problems. It changes the game completely, and I actually think Everton would go on and win it. I know it's, ifs, buts and maybes, but I actually think Everton would go on and win it. And that's why they didn't ultimately make that decision. The fact that there's still referees and ex-referees and all of these knobheads are still coming out and saying, I don't think it was a red card, is absolutely, it just shows the level of intelligence in the media and in this in punditry. Because if you don't see that as a red card, then you shouldn't be in. How are people getting paid real money to sit there and look at decisions like that and say, oh no, that's not a red card? How are you being paid real money to say that? It's absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And as I said, that would have changed the outlook of the game. That would have changed the way in which the game could have went. I'm not saying Everton would have won it. Everton could have gone on and lost it. But that was a risk that they weren't willing to take the Premier League, and that was very evident. As I said, we then go on. I think we had a couple of other chances, half chances. They had one, again, the Mohamed Salah one, which is just an absolute world-class save by Jordan Pickford. A world-class save down to his left-hand side. Gets the the slightest of touches on the ball, and tips it to onto the post. It then falls, unfortunately for them, fortunately for us, in an awkward angle to Diego Jota, and he puts it out. And not long after that, the final whistle's blown. And as I said, I thought it was a very, very evenly contested Merseyside derby. They had their chances that they could have scored. We had our chances we could have scored. The refereeing was atrocious, because if it would have been flipped, they would have had a penalty. We would have had 10 men, and their offside goal would have probably been given. But you can't sit here and say we were completely robbed, or we were completely, because ultimately they hit the post, couple of times, and on another day one of those goes in. But in the same vein, on another day Mobe scores his chance, and on another day Cody's not offside, and on another day we get the penalty. So I thought it was a draw at the end, was probably even, but as I said, the big thing I took out of it was the fact that Everton now seemingly have an identity. And we were willing to stand up, fight and battle and match this Liverpool team. We matched the Liverpool team that finished a point off the top of the league last season and got to a Champions League final and won 2 domestic trophies. Now, okay, you could say it's always the same at Goodison, Cam, you always put up a battle, but I haven't seen Everton perform quite that well in a Merseyside derby for a long time. And we can take a lot of positives from that. Facts, Cam says Birdie. Chris says spot on, Cam. Blue says, agree, Cam, about the Mope chance being the best of the game, but to be fair, he sprinted the length of the pitch and said afterwards he had jelly leg. Yeah, but again, that's why I'm not going to sit here and go at him, or I'm not going to sit here and, absolutely, have a go at him because of that. But he should have done better, really. He should have done better. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it there then. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. It would mean a massive amount to me. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well, because that would mean a massive amount to me as well. Massive thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. I really do appreciate it. Sorry I couldn't get involved in all the comments, but I really do appreciate it. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below and we'll get involved with as many of them as we can. We will be back tomorrow to discuss the transfer window, and over the next couple of days to discuss VAR, because I just feel like having a go at it again, because it's been a while since I've done that and it deserves it. If you are watching this YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below. We'll get involved with as many of them as we can. And as I said, massive thank you all for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Good result for Everton. Good performance. Let's hope we can build on it. Arsenal away on Sunday, which is massively difficult. But again, they've just been battered by Manchester United and their flaws have shown. So hopefully we can exploit them. And yeah, let's kickstart our season. Big thank you all for watching, and we'll see you later.